Frank Moses is a man who used to work as a secret spy for the government, but now he is no longer doing that kind of work. Instead, he spends his days living a quiet and peaceful life. He has a girlfriend named Sarah, and he cares about her a lot. Frank tries his best to keep Sarah safe and away from any danger because his old life as a spy was full of risks and scary situations. Sarah, however, sometimes gets bored with their quiet life. She wants to go on exciting adventures, like the ones Frank had before they met. One day, something strange happens. Frank's old friend, Marvin, comes to visit him. Marvin is a bit different from other people. He is always looking over his shoulder, like he thinks someone is following him. Marvin tells Frank that something bad might happen soon, and they need to be careful. But Frank doesn't believe him. Marvin has always been a little too cautious, so Frank thinks it's just another one of his funny worries. Then, something shocking happens. Marvin's car explodes. Frank is so surprised, and he can't believe his eyes. Everyone thinks Marvin is gone for good. They even have a funeral for him, and Frank goes to say goodbye to his friend. But when Frank is at the funeral, he notices something strange. He starts to think maybe Marvin isn't really gone. Maybe Marvin is just pretending so he can stay safe. And Frank is right. Marvin shows up again, alive and well, and tells Frank that they are in big trouble. Frank and Marvin find out that people are after them because of something called Project Nightshade. Frank doesn't know what it is at first, but it has to do with something that happened many years ago when Frank was still a spy. Sarah hears about all this and gets very excited. She wants to help Frank and Marvin. She says she doesn't want to stay at home and be left out. Even though Frank is worried about her, she convinces him to let her come along. Soon, the trouble gets even bigger. An agent from Interpol, named Jack Horton, is trying to catch Frank and Marvin. Jack is very smart and has lots of people working with him. He chases them, and they barely escape. To make things even worse, someone offers a reward for catching Frank. This means that dangerous people from all over the world are now looking for him. One of these people is a man named Han Chobai. Han used to be friends with Frank, but now he is angry at him. Han believes Frank did something bad to him in the past, so he wants revenge. Han is not an ordinary man. He is very skilled and knows how to fight. He begins hunting Frank and his team. Even though things are scary, Frank and Marvin know they need help. So, they call their old friend, Victoria Winslow. Victoria is very smart and very good at her job. She used to be a spy like Frank, and she is not afraid of anything. But when Victoria hears about the trouble Frank is in, she gets a job from her bosses. She is supposed to stop Frank. Instead of following their orders, Victoria decides to join Frank's team. She knows Frank is not a bad man, and she wants to help him solve the mystery of Project Nightshade. Frank, Marvin, Sarah, and Victoria find their first big clue in London. There, they learn about a scientist named Edward Bailey. A long time ago, Bailey worked on Project Nightshade, but then something happened. People thought Bailey had gone mad, so they locked him away in a place where no one could see him. Now, Frank's team knows they need to find Bailey to get the answers they are looking for. Frank and his team decide to look for Edward Bailey, the scientist who knows about Project Nightshade. They travel to a very secure and secret place where Bailey is being kept. It's not like a normal building. It's a high-security hospital, and it's really hard to get in or out. The guards are strict, and everything is watched carefully. But Frank is clever. He and Marvin come up with a plan to sneak inside without getting caught. When they finally find Edward Bailey, he doesn't look like they imagined. He is an old man with wild, messy hair, and he talks very fast. At first, Bailey seems confused, like he doesn't know what's happening. But soon, he begins to remember things about Project Nightshade. He tells Frank and his team that Nightshade is very dangerous. It's not just an old project. It's a bomb, a weapon so powerful it could destroy an entire city. Bailey says he was forced to help build it a long time ago. Now, Frank realizes why so many people are after him. They think he knows where the bomb is or how to find it. But Frank doesn't have all the answers yet. He needs Bailey to help him figure out what to do next. Before they can leave the hospital, the guards find out they are there. Frank, Marvin, Sarah, and Victoria have to fight their way out. It's very intense, but they manage to escape with Bailey. After getting away, the team learns that the bomb might be in Russia. They don't waste any time and head there right away. But things are never simple. As soon as they arrive, Han Chobai shows up again. Han is still angry with Frank and wants to capture him. There is a big chase, and Frank has to use all his skills to keep his team safe. Finally, they manage to lose Han for the moment, but everyone knows he'll be back. In Russia, the team gets another clue about the bomb's location. It's hidden in the Kremlin, one of the most secure places in the world. The Kremlin is a big, old building with lots of guards and cameras. Breaking into it seems impossible, but Frank is determined. He knows he has to stop the bomb before it's too late. To help them break into the Kremlin, the team reaches out to another old friend, Ivan Samanov. Ivan used to work with Frank, and he is very good at sneaking into places. Ivan is also in love with Victoria, so when she asks for his help, he can't say no. He agrees to help them, even though it's a dangerous mission. While planning their break-in, Frank and the team realize that Bailey is acting a little strange. Sometimes, he seems like he's helping them, but other times, he says things that don't make sense. Marvin starts to wonder if Bailey can really be trusted, but Frank decides to keep going because they don't have any other choice. Finally, the team begins their mission to break into the Kremlin. It's a very tense and complicated plan. Everyone has a role to play. Marvin and Ivan distract the guards. Victoria sets up equipment to disable the cameras, and Frank and Sarah sneak inside with Bailey. The team works together perfectly, but just as they think they're about to succeed, something unexpected happens. Bailey suddenly reveals that he hasn't been honest with them. He has his own plan, and it's not what Frank thought. Bailey doesn't want to stop the bomb. He wants to use it. He feels betrayed by the people who locked him away for so many years, and now he wants revenge. Frank is shocked. He realizes they've been helping the wrong person all along. Now, the mission becomes even more dangerous. Frank and his team not only have to stop the bomb, but they also have to stop Bailey before he can use it. Everyone is nervous, but Frank stays calm. He knows he has to think fast if they are going to fix this mess. Bailey has tricked Frank and his team, but they don't give up. They know they have to stop him. Frank quickly comes up with a new plan. The team splits up to cover more ground. Marvin and Ivan try to keep the guards busy so they don't interfere, while Frank and Sarah go after Bailey. Victoria stays behind to guide them with a map, talking to them through a small radio. Bailey is moving fast through the Kremlin, heading for the bomb. He knows exactly where it's hidden because he helped design it. Frank and Sarah chase after him, running down long, dark hallways. The building is old and confusing, with lots of locked doors and hidden passages. It feels like a maze, but Frank is determined not to lose him. When Bailey finally reaches the bomb, it's hidden inside a metal case, covered in wires and buttons. It looks very complicated, and Bailey starts working on it right away. He talks to himself while he works, saying things like, "They thought they could lock me away forever. Now, I'll show them." Frank and Sarah arrive just in time. Frank points his gun at Bailey and tells him to stop, but Bailey doesn't listen. He keeps working on the bomb, getting closer and closer to activating it. Sarah tries to reason with him, saying, "If you do this, innocent people will get hurt." But Bailey just laughs and says, "No one cared about me when I was locked up. Why should I care about them?" Suddenly, Han Chobai shows up again. He has been following them all along, waiting for the right moment to strike. Han doesn't care about the bomb. He just wants to capture Frank. Now, Frank has to fight Han while Sarah tries to stop Bailey from activating the bomb. It's a chaotic scene, with everyone moving and shouting at once. Frank and Han have a tough fight. Han is very strong and skilled, But Frank doesn't give up. He uses everything he has learned over the years to outsmart Han. Finally, Frank manages to defeat him, leaving Han unconscious on the ground. Meanwhile, Sarah does something very brave. She grabs a bomb and pulls it away from Bailey. Bailey tries to take it back, but Sarah won't let go. She shouts for Frank to help her. Frank rushes over and knocks Bailey down, stopping him for good. Bailey is furious, but Frank tells him it's over. Now, Frank and Sarah have the bomb, but it's still dangerous. They don't know how much time they have left before it goes off. Victoria talks to them through the radio, guiding them on how to disable it. She is very calm, even though the situation is scary. With her help, Frank and Sarah carefully cut the right wires and press the right buttons. Finally, the bomb is deactivated. It's safe. The team comes back together, relieved that the mission is over. Marvin and Ivan are happy to see that everyone is okay. Ivan says, "That was close," and Marvin jokes, "Too close for my liking." But Frank isn't smiling. He knows that even though they stopped the bomb, they still have to deal with the people who wanted to use it in the first place. Frank and his team leave the Kremlin and hand Bailey over to the authorities. They make sure he can't hurt anyone ever again. But their mission isn't finished yet. Frank knows there are still dangerous people out there, and is ready to stop them, no matter what. In the end, the team shares a quiet moment together. They are tired but proud of what they've done. Victoria smiles and says, "We make a pretty good team." Frank nods and says, "Yes, we do." As the story ends, Frank looks out at the horizon, knowing there will always be more challenges ahead. But for now, he's glad they stopped Project Nightshade and saved so many lives.